Hey guys, Dr. Damelin, board certified dermatologist. Today we'll be talking about DIY skincare. There's a couple of new players in the market. The Ordinary is just about to release their compounded, well actually it's not compounded, their pure niacinamide tomorrow. That's tomorrow, 4th of August. This is not a new concept. In fact, The Ordinary first came out with this with the L-ascorbic acid 100%. In the context of skincare and what dermatologists do, this is actually quite a old-fashioned way of prescribing skincare actives, because what we do is when we see patients, generally speaking, we prescribe, when it comes to compounded solutions, we prescribe compounded topicals and actives according to the patient. So for example, if we use salicylic acid, we may range it from 2%, 4%, 5%, all the way up to 20% for certain skin conditions. So compounded bespoke preparations aren't new, but I think the way The Ordinary has commercialized it, I think it's pretty smart of them. And once again, I think there's a role in the market for this. So they first started with ascorbic acid, yeah? And ascorbic acid, as you know, is vitamin C. There's pros and cons to this because vitamin C is very unstable. It's hard to formulate. You need to formulate it in something with a very low pH, somewhere about 2.5 to 3.5. And most importantly, it is photolabile. In other words, light and heat, but most important, light can cause oxidation of ascorbic acid. So at best, most compounded solutions, as in DIY, you probably get a week or two maximum. Now, the other flip side with ascorbic acid is that, look, in the scheme of things, it's pretty powerful, yeah? And I think a lot of people can run into problems with ascorbic acid because if you've got sensitive skin and if you're using low formulations or low pH formulations and upwards of 5, 10, 15, 20, even up to 30%, you're going to run in trouble, especially for patients with sensitive skin and rosacea. So look, they're I guess, pretty active in the market and it's a new concept. So where I think they've done really well is the release of this tomorrow, which is niacinamide. Niacinamide, as you guys know, is vitamin B3. And I think it's much more safe and much more sensible. So as a dermatologist, what do I think is probably safe to compound at home or mix at home for your DIY skincare? Definitely vitamin B3, niacinamide. The other thing is hyaluronic acid. So hyaluronic acid you can buy, it's a powder. It's hyaluronic acid doesn't penetrate into your deep dermis. It acts as a humectant and a moisturizer. So I think when it comes to something banal, something which does very little in the way of damage, probably hyaluronic acid is the way to go for compounded stuff at home. Now, with this release tomorrow, I'll read it out to you. It's 100% niacinamide powder, nothing added. So no parabens, no preservatives, no talc. They're vegan friendly and animal cruelty free. So you can't get better than this. The flip side is this. Look, at the end of the day, you're only paying about, I think in the US it's about $4.98, yeah? That's $4.98, which is basically, what, 2 cups of bad Starbucks coffee? In Australia, you're paying about $10, which is basically, about two Starbucks coffee, and that's it. So in the scheme of things, you can buy niacinamide for a lot cheaper than this. If you look at it per kilo, niacinamide probably goes for somewhere around between $5 all the way up to $50 per kilo. So with this, when they're giving you 20 grams and they're selling it for $10, I mean, the profit is still there, so they have to sell a lot, so they're actually looking at volume sales. But in the scheme of things, you probably go through 20 grams in about a year or even a year and a half, depending on your formulations. So when it comes to costs, yes, when you look at the raw ingredients, this costs a lot more. But you get it in a nice package, it's convenient, and you get a little scoop with it so you can measure stuff. So I wouldn't worry about the cost in the scheme of things. Yes, you can buy cheaper, but look, what are you going to do with 2 kilos of niacinamide powder? I mean, you can't snort it. It's practicality, yeah? Okay, so this is it. This is the formulation itself. That's the powder. In fact, most pharmacists, when they compound things, they get powder, right? So for example, when we talk about kojic acid, hyaluronic acid, when it comes to arbutin, a lot of the compounded formulations are in the powder form, and they have to measure and they have to dispense accordingly, and they're very exact. Yeah, so compounded pharmacists totally different. Yeah, it's an exact science because I've seen them, I've watched them, and they formulate down to the 0.001 of a gram. Yeah, whilst this is a little bit hit and miss. So they go, a scoop like this is a full scoop. Yeah, so that's it. But what they say, you've got to actually use a quarter of a scoop. So a quarter of a scoop into your, into your topical of choice, right? So that could be anything that's non-oil based. So anything like a cream or something like a serum with the acidity that's higher than pH 5. So you can't use stuff like ascorbic acid and mix it because the pH of that would just, it's not compatible. So anywhere between the pH of 5 all the way up to pH of 7. Now, they've suggested a few things, and I think a lot of dermatologists understand that things like hyaluronic acid, peptides, and a lot of other banal stuff, like your serums, your moisturizers, most of them have pH somewhere around neutral or so. So that's compatible with that. Herein lies the problem, right? So when you've got this and you want to make a bespoke concentration for yourself, so they've given you a guide. 1/4 of a scoop into a palm size serum or cream, right? So 1/4 scoop into a palm size application, 4 drops they say. That will get you somewhere between 5 to 10% niacinamide. So look at this scoop, for example. Yeah, look how small it is. So you're supposed to get 1/4 of that. Even if you're exact, you're somewhere between 5 to 10% niacinamide. For the average punter, that's fine. Yeah. If you try to deliver that, I guess, every night and try to replicate that, especially when you're measuring such a small amount, you may have variation. More than likely, you will have variation from night to night, unless you buy yourself a set of really good scales, yeah, and that way you can measure stuff to 0.001 of a gram and you get a much more accurate indication. So with this formulation, some nights I reckon you'll be getting 4%. Other nights when you're not paying attention, you might put a little bit too much. You might be getting 14-15%. So the variation's huge because we're talking about small amounts of niacinamide, 1/4 of that to give you between a 5 to 10%. 5 to 10%, that's huge. That's 100% variation, yeah. Now, this is where I guess things get interesting because I think there's a market out there for patients or I guess consumers to want bespoke DIY. I'm a DIY guy. I like DIYing. So everything from fertilizer to lots of other stuff which I just either make or compound or assemble. The reason why is because it just feels good. Yeah, you can go to a shop, you can buy it, or you can make it yourself. And I think it's part of human nature that when we make something, we go, wow, we're pretty proud of that. Whether it be, like I said, whether it be a cake, whether you're cooking, or whether it be gardening, whether your own fertilizer, it makes you feel good, yeah. And I think this is where, I guess, the proactive companies can probably see a hole in the market and go, cool, how about we give this to the consumer? I think they missed the shot with L-ascorbic acid, yeah, because like I said, it's acidic, compounding is difficult, stability is an issue, and certainly the main thing is sensitization. Not sensitization as an irritant dermatitis, especially for rosacea and sensitive skin. In this preparation, I think they've got the market probably good, yeah, because the chance of niacinamide causing problems is very slim. So let's go back to niacinamide. Why niacinamide? Niacinamide, I think, is when you're looking at the most banal of the actives, yeah, in other words, ones that cause you least amount of irritant contact dermatitis, sensitization, photosensitivity, burning, stinging, flakiness, etc. It is vitamin B. Vitamin B is the best of all of that because the irritation potential is very, very low. So niacinamide is best as an anti-inflammatory. That's why we can use that for treating, for example, rosacea-prone skin, acne. So one of the range includes a zinc base together with niacinamide B3. So that's acne-prone skin. But that is mainly it, yeah. The anti-inflammatory effects. If you go to the Ordinary website, they'll list a whole heap of other stuff there, like, it's great for pigment, which, look, I think in the scheme of things, there are much, much better things there for pigment, yeah, like your ascorbic acids and your hydroquinones and your botanicals. And they say it can reduce pores as well, modulate not only inflammation, but modulate barrier function as well. So patients with atopic eczema or any conditions where the barrier function is impaired, vitamin B is the way to go. And I know there's some studies coming out of Sydney, Australia, or my colleagues over there have done a lot of research in the context of vitamin B3 and the sun, yeah, so a decrease of skin cancer rates with vitamin B3. So I think it's certainly the if you're going to pick a skincare active to muck around with, it's probably much safer than ascorbic acid, and definitely safer than something like retinol or even all these skincare acids. Maybe that's what's on the agenda next. You can buy yourself a super strong, 50% glycolic acid and then dilute it to 5%, 10%. I think if that comes out, that'll probably be disastrous. It'll probably be very, very dangerous. Yeah, I think there's a market for it. I'm sure if someone come out with something like a 70, 80, 90% glycolic acid, which you can buy over the counter or buy cheaply online, it's going to go bananas. But once again, the amount of patients out there who would suffer burns, who would suffer, I guess, skin irritation and post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, probably not a good idea to muck around with skincare acids. So with this, let's start off with this. So that's a quarter of a scoop, right? Palm here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use, this is sacrilege, I'm going to use another company's serum, right? So this is by Inkey List. Now I'm going to mix it, right? And this is my first time mixing it because, like I said, this was delivered to me last week. The release is in 2 or 3 days' time. So I've run this through with a few of my colleagues. If you know Michelle Wong, Lab Muffin Skincare Science, so Science Skincare, she's awesome. Yeah, I ran this through her with in regards to her thoughts as well. We're both on the same page. If you're going to use something, better use niacinamide than L-ascorbic acid. She's done a really good DIY ascorbic acid video. Plus, I think she's done a write-up, and I'll link it in the description down below. So, Michelle Wong, if you're not following, follow her. Okay, so here we go. Wow, this is actually pretty good. Initially, I had reservations. I thought it was going to be really gritty. It's not. It's just in 2 or 3, it's just dissolved completely. So, look, top marks for their for the way they've actually made the powder. So that's great. So that's in more of a serum. Now I'm going to flip my hand over. I'm going to use something else. Once again, look, life would not be good, and I guess it's not fair if I keep going on with the ordinary. So I've got some Murad, yeah, some Murad skincare. Let's look at the base of this. This base is actually cream. So now I'm flipping out my hand. I'm putting on the dorsum of my hand. 1/4 of a scoop. Let's see how well this gels in with the cream. So I've got the cream over here, and I'm just putting a little bit more with the cream here. And that's it. So I think they've got the formulation spot on because this is integrated really well. So all hats off to Dycem for actually with their formulations. I haven't tested other niacinamide powders. Probably for a fair, I guess, assessment, we probably should look at realistically 5 or 6 different types of formulations and go from there. But look, it's a good. I think it's probably has legs, yeah. And for those who are into DIY skincare, I think this is the future. Looking out for a lot more products, possibly from Dycem, but possibly from other companies. I do see that this is going to be a big hole in the market that probably the skincare companies can fill over the next couple of years. Like I said, DIY, it's fun, but most importantly, guys, keep things safe. I hope you liked that video. Please comment, share, subscribe. If you haven't turned on your notifications bell, by all means, please do so because the next video will be out possibly in the next 7 days, but 7 to 10 days. Catch you guys then. Bye for now.